It is Thursday, June 30th, 2022. Yes, the last day of June. This is another edition of Baseball Today, presented to you by our friends over at Shady Rays. Not only the best looking shades in the entire business, but whenever you inevitably break them or lose them, they will replace them. That is my man, Trevor Plouffe. I am Chris Rose, producer Dan, and intern Sam along for the ride as well. Plouffe, you doing all right?
I'm doing great. See, Rosie, I can tell you're looking at my jersey. Yes, I have the beautiful green Oakland jersey on right now. I felt like the boys just need a little pick-me-up, just a little love up there in Oakland, okay? So I did this, matching it with the green hat. I feel good to that. There's a lot of, like yesterday, so many stories came out. All I could think of was, what is C. Rose going to cook up for this show today? I swear to God, that's what I was thinking. Baseball's hot in the streets, man.
All right. Well, for the second time this week, we start the show before asking any questions by just applauding somebody. And this time it's a former number one overall pick, Mark Appel. He got called up over the weekend by the Phillies. Last night in the loss to the Braves, he made his major league debut, the oldest number one pick to make his major league debut at age 30, pitched a scoreless inning of relief. Dude, I didn't see it live. I saw the highlights, but you could not wipe the smile off that dude's face.
Absolutely. You know, it's been fun kind of like since he's come back into baseball. We know he took a little leave of absence, if you will. What was it, 3 or 4 years off of the game, comes back, and he's been documenting it through, via Twitter and his social media pages. And it's been cool. He's just giving advice, life advice. This guy's a smart dude. He's a Stanford guy like me and Brady. So, he's got the brain power. But yeah, you can't script it any better for him. He's coming up, getting that score this inning, and, his family was there. And you're right, dude. Like the emotion, the smile that he was putting out was something that you just love to see.
I think his brother and sister-in-law were on hand, and just to see that, we talked about it earlier this week with the Cardinals reliever, but to see a guy who seemingly had it all and then lost it, where he was this close to being another answer to a trivia question in terms of number one overall picks who never played in the show, but to give it up and then come back and say, screw it, I'm going to work my ass off to try and get there. And for him to get there, I don't know what role he's going to play with the Phillies here over the next few months. Hopefully he sticks around the entire rest of the year, but it's just great. It's a great story. I'm happy for him.
If they give you a roster spot at that age, like, you've been doing something well. So, hopefully he keeps it, and maybe, we'll be talking about Mark Appel for years to come. I hope so, man. I'd love to see him in a bullpen everywhere.
Meantime, let's talk about the Astros and Yankees for the second time in a week. They start a series. This is just a quick one-gamer in and out for New York. It's the two Luises going at it. I am hopeful that Yordan Alvarez is in the starting lineup. I wouldn't expect it after yesterday's collision with Jeremy Pena there in Queens. That was ugly. So we'll keep our fingers crossed. But intern Sam threw out a very interesting question. How much has a guy like Yordan closed the gap on Aaron Judge in the MVP race? Because if you look at the numbers, strictly the hitting numbers, Yordan leads in a lot of categories, and in some cases by a lot.
You kind of answered your own question right there. I love Yordan. I was one of the first people on the Yordan train. I noticed just his demeanor in the box. The power was there, but he's a hitter too. The problem is that's all he is. He's a hitter. He's primarily a DH. I don't think it's particularly close in the MVP watch between him and Judge. I understand the offensive numbers are similar. And like you said, in some places, Yordan is even better. But if you look at Vegas right now and the odds they're putting out there, Aaron Judge is the favorite at -110 and Yordan's plus 1,000.
Yeah, but that shouldn't matter for our discussion.
It does, because they are taking into account the same thing I'm taking into account, that he doesn't play one side of the ball. And trust me, guess what? I don't even think Aaron Judge is the MVP frontrunner right now. We'll get to that a little bit later.
Whoa.
I do not. I think a guy's on his way, and I think you know who I'm talking about. But as far as you're comparing Judge and Alvarez, and I know the Fangraphs war is similar as well. I don't think voters are going to give Yordan the nod over Judge when he's primarily a DH. That's just the bottom line. And again, I love Yordan. He's one of the best hitters in the game. But if you're not playing both sides of the ball, you have to be exponentially better than everybody else. And Usually not going to happen during a baseball year.
And I would agree with you. When you are the DH, you do have to be like Barry Bonds-ish when it comes to the numbers. I just think it's only fair. The interesting thing was, I was like, okay, you know what? Aaron Judge, like I see him jumping over the wall and robbing home runs. He looks like he's got a great arm, all that sort of stuff. So I was curious where he measured. I've never understood the defensive metrics and how they compute them, and particularly defensive runs saved and stuff like that. Do you know that in right field, he's negative when it comes to defensive runs saved this year? Did you know that?
I think that, there's different things you can do. We've talked about that on this show, like positioning, and sometimes you're going against the positioning that's going to grant you more defensive runs saved. Now he's been playing a lot more center field as of late too. And like, if you're putting up those offensive numbers,
positive on defensive runs saved,
if you're putting up those numbers as a center fielder, and he's probably going to play center field for the majority of the season, maybe the rest of the way. I just don't think there's any discussion right now between those two.
I was just finding it curious. Plus, I love his athleticism on the bases. I think he's a really, really good base runner. Once again, I don't know how he figures metrically. I can just tell you by my eyes, for a guy that size to be able to run the bases as effectively as he does.
Dan was looking at me like he wanted to, start something. What's up, Dan? Yeah, I said Judge is in the MVP front.
Okay, we'll get to that in a second. I got two more questions before I think the area you want to head. Dodgers and Padres. I'm wearing a Padres lid, not because I'm rooting for them, but that's because of another question coming up. Dodgers and Padres meet for just the second time this year. 4-gamer starting in LA tonight. Are you surprised with no Fernando Tatis this year that San Diego is as close to LA in the standings almost 3 months in?
I think at the beginning of the year, I would have been surprised if you would have told me this. But from the start, San Diego has been a team, right? You look at their record in April, 14-8, 16-11 in May, 16-12 in June. They've had positive records every single month. The only time they've been under 500, Chris, after the first game of the year. They lost the first game. Ever since then, they've been over 500, and they've done it all without Fernando Tatis. And then the last, whatever it is, 10, 11 games without Machado as well. So I'm not surprised anymore. The pitching and the defense has been really good for them. They're meeting up now, like you said, for the second time this season. Both teams kind of walking in wounded a little bit. August, they have 9 games against each other. I think that's when we're really going to see, these two teams go head to head a lot.
And I'm pumped that Tatis
more
will
full strength
be back for those.
Yeah, at full strength in August. I think that's kind of what we want to see. Dodgers still without Buehler, and Betts is like trending towards playing again soon. I don't know, man. We'll see.
Yeah. It's weird. I looked at the Padres lineup yesterday. I was like, oh God, it almost looked like a B spring training game at times, but somehow they've made it. Like, this pitching staff has been unbelievable. With all that being said, the Dodgers statistically are better than them when it comes to pitching. So I sit here and I'm kind of scratch my head at how is there only a game and a half difference between these two teams? Kudos to the Padres players. Kudos to Bob Melvin, who I said was a huge offseason pickup. What are you shaking your head at?
I'm looking at the lineup yesterday. You said it was like a B spring training line. It's pretty good. I mean, it's not full strength. We know that, but some of these guys can bang, and some of these guys are having good years, and there's some guys that are table setters. I wouldn't say B spring training.
I was joking. Okay. I was joking. You understand what I'm getting at.
You had me going there for a second. I needed to see it.
It's not the lineup of all lineups. You don't look at that and say, yeah, that's a team that is one of the best in the National League.
I know, but it's like the Brewers, dude. Like, we're banking on the Brewers pitching to get them through it. And right now it's kind of what's happening. The Brewers
have a ton of at least proven players in their lineup. Whether or not they're getting it done.
Yeah, they're not really getting it done.
Yeah.
Except for Rowdy, my guy.
Yeah, boy, he just crushed him.
Look, I mean, they've been good in 1-run games. They've been good in blowouts. Like, they've just been good. They've just been winning, throughout the season. So you can't be surprised anymore.
No, I guess not. I think this will be a fun series. It'll be interesting. It's a real different dynamic when the series is played in Los Angeles than in San Diego. Very different, because for people that aren't familiar with it, people in San Diego cannot stand Los Angeles. In Los Angeles, they don't give San Diego a second thought. They just don't.
LA doesn't give anyone a second thought. And then I believe the last time these two teams played, it was in San Diego, and it was a lot of Dodger fans there.
Yes, always.
curious. We'll see how this one goes because, I mean, there's a big fan base down there in San Diego and they do love their team and the team's really good this year. I hope they show out next time it's in San Diego.
I agree with you. There is one other topic I want to get to with the Padres, and I didn't realize this had happened until I was kicking things around this morning. Mike Clevinger threw 6 innings of shutout, 1-hit ball yesterday as the Padres took care of the Arizona Diamondbacks. Afterward, he had a really interesting comment about the Arizona Diamondbacks broadcast booth and their analyst, former manager, Bob Brenly.
Yeah, no, I felt really locked in. I think, like I said, that motivation before, I mean, it's hard to sit here and, hear guys in the booth, get to talk all they want and not know who the guys in the clubhouse are. You hear this back and forth. It's been going on for years, especially here. I just want Bob to know he has an open invite to come down to our clubhouse and find out what kind of people really are instead of just running his mouth up there.
So basically, Mike Clevinger looking into the camera and telling analyst Bob Brenly, stop talking shit about our guys. During the game, just for a little bit of context here, it wasn't even Brenly. It was the play-by-play man, Steve Berthume. And it was more tongue-in-cheek. They were talking about Clevinger and how he has the long hair and all that stuff and how he originally went to the Citadel before heading to junior college and got like 1,000 hours of like, I don't know if they called it like clothing violations or whatever it was, the way you're supposed to look at the Citadel, I guess, with the long hair. He said he didn't even care. Now, obviously, this was research done somewhere. Play-by-play guys usually have access to a website that has a lot of information on these guys, personal information, because you can't talk to everybody. But here's Clevinger telling the announce team, get your ass down here, meet our boys, talk to us face-to-face if you're ever going to talk about us. Do you like what he said?
I have no problem with it at all. In fact, you and I have talked about this. We come and sit here and talk about players Monday through Friday, right? And we said, if we're going to do this and do it right, you and I need to go down to the stadiums from time to time and put ourselves out there. They need to see us because if we say something, they want to talk to us about it. We need to be available for them. And I think Clev's right. Like there's a lot of times guys kind of just stay away from the game. They talk about it. And they never really go and meet guys or talk to them. You do a really good job of that. I mean, you're getting to know these guys. I think it gives you a better appreciation of all of them. So I have no problem with Clevinger calling him out. If you want to talk about someone, why don't you come down and ask, why I do something or, what's the reason I'm doing this? So I have no problem with it. And if he did draw a little bit of motivation there and he said, I worked a little bit faster because they said I was taking too long. I mean, I think it's kind of funny. I like it.
I agree. This has always been a two-way street. And I think it's important to have a relationship. Now, there are going to be times when you host shows or whatever, and you say stuff about people. Okay. And I've run into this. My rule, and it's not necessarily a rule for everybody, is try not to make things personal. That's when it gets tough. You can criticize people for the way they're playing, or in some cases, the way they act, if you don't believe it's the right way. But it's when things get personal. Now, the area where Brenly has gone wrong and off the deep end the last few years is when he was talking about Marcus Stroman's do-rag and stuff like that. A few years ago, he was talking about the, quote, bike chain that Fernando Tatis was wearing. That just makes you look old, stupid, and borderline. I don't even want to say the word. That's where it can get ugly and personal. And that, I don't think there's any part you should never do that. If you think you're entertaining, no, what you just sound is old, out of touch. And you sound like one of the reasons some people don't like baseball, because it's that game.
It happens a lot nowadays where we have to listen to the guys in the booth and they're ridiculing players in the game. And that's not how we promote the game. We've talked about that before on this show. We don't need that. And honestly, we wanted to talk about personal appearance and all that stuff. Bob Brenly is not exactly the guy that should be talking about it, man.
No, but that just gets into a stupid area. Like, it just makes you, do you really think that everybody should look the same? No, I don't.
I mean, yeah.
Just because it's not for you doesn't mean it's not for everybody else. Like, it's just it's not old school thinking. It's stupid school thinking. And I don't like it. I don't want that in my broadcast booth. You don't have any role for it. Jim Cotta said some stupid shit in recent years.
Yeah.
And I like Jim. I worked with him at MLB Network. True gentleman every time I was around him. But he said some stuff where you sit there and you're like, what are you thinking? Are you thinking?
We've said stupid stuff. You talk long enough in front of a camera, you're going to say stupid stuff, but you're totally right, C Rose. You like, let's not get personal with any of this. If you want to get personal, go person to person and talk to them about it. You don't like the way someone looks and you feel like you need to say it. Like, I guess the only thing you need to do is go say it to them, not to everybody else and hide behind the screen.
Yeah. And it is now that clubhouses are open, it's imperative for analysts and for play-by-play people to get back into the clubhouse. Some of them are excellent at doing it so that you can stay in tune with your team and with the other team as well. It's part of your job. It's part of your responsibility as being the conduit to fan bases during the games. You have to do it. And I appreciate, I don't love everything that's come out of Clevinger's mouth. I don't love everything that he's done. Here, he's right on board.
Yeah, the best, play-by-play guys or analysts that I've come across are always in the clubhouse, down on the batting practice field, getting that insight. They're not just reading a packet on you. Like, they're coming in, asking you questions. Dan Gladden and Corey Provis in Minnesota were by far the best at it. They were down there. Dan's a former player, so he loves the clubhouse anyway. He maybe was in it a little too much, old Dazzle Dan there. But they would come ask questions. And they talk to you about the game. Why were you doing this? What happened here? And then they get the real insight. They get real answers, and they're able to talk about the game in a way that, is fun and promoting it. So yeah, I agree with you. You got to get down there in the nitty gritty. It's part of the job, dude.
And there has to be a balance from the other side too. Players have to understand that sometimes analysts, even on their own team, are going to be critical, right? Because whether it's an effort thing sometimes or a misplay, you have to understand that that's part of the job too. And it's
sure.
I just hope
there's some players that could listen to that and learn from it. I feel like I've been a part of that as well, where we were getting critiqued on losing teams a lot, and I didn't like it. But at the end of the day, what are they supposed to say? You're playing like shit, so they gotta say something.
Yep.
But that's something you learn also, as your career gets going a little bit.
All right, let's move on. A couple of really impressive pitching performances yesterday, in addition to Clevinger. Sandy Alcantara. Once again, I butchered this because I had Miguel Rojas in studio and forgot to ask him how to say it. Anyway, complete game against his old squad, the Cardinals, or Shohei another 5 2/3 of shutout work with 11 more strikeouts in a win over the White Sox.
You know where I'm going with this.
Is this your MVP? Is this your MVP?
Shohei is. We talked about this on the show. We can't get Shohei fatigue. And I think that's what's happening right now. I mean, just go ahead and look at the numbers. Okay. You got a guy with an 855 OPS, 141 OPS plus. Would you want that guy in your lineup? I think so, right?
I'll take him. Yeah, sure.
You'll take him. Okay. Now, what if I told you that same guy is going to be pitching to a 2.68 and striking out over 12 batters per 9?
I could probably fit him in the rotation, but I'll get back
at the top of your rotation. You're talking about a top of the rotation guy and a middle of the order bat in one freaking person. We cannot get Shohei Ohtani fatigue. Okay. We just talked about how Yordan is not going to win the MVP because he's primarily a DH, and they're going to look at Aaron Judge and say, this guy's playing center field doing this thing. Okay. That makes sense, right? Now level it up a little bit. Aaron Judge is only one side of the ball, or not one side of the ball. He's two sides of the ball, not three sides of the ball like Shohei.
Does he play special teams?
Do you know what I mean? Yes.
Yes.
What else does Shohei do? He probably leads the discussion on the bus on road trips too. I don't know. This guy can do it all. And I'm sorry. I get it. Judge, you're a fantastic ball player. And if Shohei Ohtani wasn't around, you'd win the MVP this year. But Shohei Ohtani is around, and he's performing at an elite level on both sides. And it's only getting better. His June was absolutely incredible on the mound and hitting. He's finding it right now. If he continues at this pace, there's just no reason he shouldn't be MVP.
But Plouffe, the Angels suck. The Yankees might have the greatest season ever going.
Okay, do you think the Yankees would be better or worse or the same if they just swapped out Judge and Ohtani? They'd be at least the same. Probably better.
How would the Angels be if you put
Same.
Judge on
or
with
worse
the Angels?
Because they'd have one less pitcher, one less elite starting pitcher.
You're right. I agree with you.
And they have a guy in the outfield, Taylor Ward, that's for a while was hitting like Judge.
So
and they were anywhere.
How do we handle this? Because that voters are not going to pay attention. Here's what's going to happen. The easiest thing to do as a voter is look at the team that's been the best and
so stupid.
And then take the best player on that team and vote them in, or the best planet on the player.
Doesn't work that way. It just doesn't work that way in baseball. I love Judge, yet he's been incredible for the Yankees. I don't want this to be a slight at Judge. This is more me saying Shohei Ohtani is just different. We're not used to seeing it, and our brains can't comprehend what's going on, but really just step back and think about it for a second. There's no way this guy, again, if he continues to perform the way he's performing, shouldn't be the MVP. Like, he is the most valuable player in all of baseball. I guess what we can do is screw AL, and I'll just give Shohei the Shohei Award, and then we can let the other guys fight out for the MVP awards.
I remember asking, I think, Brault at the beginning of the year. I said, what wouldn't make Shohei the MVP? Like, if he still has 25, 27 starts on the mound and hits maybe not 46 home runs like he did a year ago, but let's say he hits 28. What possibly would not make him the MVP?
We discussed that as well. It's hard to put numbers on that. He's doing it right now. He's 141 weighted runs created plus as a hitter, 147 ERA plus as a pitcher.
That's incredible.
It's
incredible. You're right. And we're going to penalize him because he's on a shitty team, and we're going to raise Judge up because he's on a great team, right? Isn't that the way it's going to go?
Although I guess the one argument you could say is Shohei isn't really playing defense. So did I just put myself in a pickle right there?
No, because there's no way that somebody's defense can have a bigger impact than when he starts a game on the mound. No way.
Yeah, you'd have to be like vintage KK out there and also doing it. I don't know, man. When I step back and look at the game from above, okay, it's Shohei and everybody else right now. It just really is. Ask CC Sabathia, Dan, what he thinks.
And by the way, you're right. This is not a slight on Aaron Judge. It's just It's like those years where there were great teams in the 90s. They just weren't as good as the Chicago Bulls. It didn't mean that they were any less great. They just weren't as good. Aaron Judge is not as important a player as Shohei Ohtani. We can agree on that.
Look at Dan. Look at you.
Plouffe, do we agree on that?
I don't want to use the word important. I just think that Shohei does more on the field for his team.
Nobody is as important in baseball as Shohei Ohtani.
No one. Right. Okay. I see where you're going with this. I agree with that. He's
not a slight on anybody else. And I bet you if you asked Aaron Judge that question, he'd be like, of course, I can't go out and throw a 93 mile an hour split.
I'm going to say this again on the show. This is not going to open up the floodgates for two-way players, okay? Like, this is not what's happening right now, okay? Just because Shohei did it doesn't mean everyone can do it. Try. I think Hunter Green, they were trying to do it with him, and they're like, this isn't going to work. Like, there's a lot of guys. There's been more guys as of recent to try it and go check out their track records are. They ain't happening.
All right, last thing.
Sorry,
Josh Naylor capping a 4-run extra inning comeback by my Cleveland Guardians over your little Minnesota Twins. Afterward, he headbutted Terry Francona, who is wearing a helmet now every time Naylor does something good to protect himself. Great video. Could you have headbutted one of your managers and not gotten killed for it?
First of all, I know you loved what happened last night. Emilio Pagan is the people on Twins Twitter not really feeling Pagan.
It was Cotton who gave up the homer.
I know. What I'm just saying, it's been him and Cotton, and they're even on my boy Duffy a little bit. The bullpen has been something that Twins fans are not happy about. To answer your question, yes, I think Gardy would have done it with me.
Nice.
he's that kind of guy. He wants to get in it with the boys every once in a while, and he's kind of got that thick body. I think he could have handled it. So I don't know if I would have done it. I don't really want to go around headbutting dudes, but after a big homer, sometimes the emotion gets the best of you. Naylor, he walks and has that emotion. That's just who he is. So I love Terry, and I'm glad that happened, and I hope he's okay, because it looked like even though he had the helmet on, looked like he took the brunt of it.
I know, right? And Naylor at least has some padding up there. Tito's, it's helmet on top of bald cranium. Got to be careful.
Why you got to go there, man? Why you got to go there?
He knows it. What do you think? He woke up this morning like, hey, Chris said I didn't have any hair. I don't have any hair. Look at me. I don't have any hair.
That's pretty good Francona voice right there.
Yeah, I've got it. Oh, I loved it. I'm Josh Naylor. I love that kid. I mean, he's great. He's so exciting. It's just when he does something crazy, you got to get out of the way. You got to watch yourself.
I always thought Terry liked me because he'd always say hi to me and stuff, but I'm pretty sure he does that with everybody.
Yeah, he loves everybody.
Yeah.
Good man. All right, what do you have coming up on John Boy Media?
Yesterday we recorded the All JM team that runs from April through June. So people, when you see this graphic, don't freak out about it. It's a cumulative award. We just do it month by month. So we did that yesterday, and then tomorrow we'll do the recap, and that's it, man. What about you?
The Glass Now episode is out, including a hilarious story that we dropped today as a little teaser. The Wheel of Moderately Interesting Things. It didn't land on anything, but it was on Meet and Greet, which is how he met his girlfriend. His story about it is unbelievable. You will appreciate it as a former major league player. So please go check that out. We talked to him about his health status, how he's doing. We saw him video of him throwing this week off the mound, all sorts of stuff. And plus, Glass Now is just easy. He's an easy listen, as we like to say in the biz. So go check that out, the Chris Rose rotation. All right.
Sounds good.
That'll do it for today's episode of Baseball Today, presented to you by Shady Rays. Head to shadyrays.com. Use the code word today. For producer Dan and intern Sam, that is my man T. Plouffe. I'm Chris Rose. We will see you Friday on Baseball Today.